Hi, I'm Dawn and this is where Shabby meets Bling. It is almost spring. Almost. We get a wintry day and then we get a beautiful day, and today was one of those beautiful days. And it really just makes me yearn for my bulbs to bloom outside. But until that time comes, I'm going to try to fake it. I'm sure you've all seen those very beautiful high-end plants in the stores that look like they're coming right out of bulbs.
These faux bulbs, oh, they are just so gorgeous.
Well, today I'm going to try to duplicate that look. I've got some beautiful, these are gorgeous. They really look real. And whether that translates through the camera, I don't know, but in person, these things are gorgeous. So I'm going to try to take these guys and make them look like they've come out of bulbs. I'm also going to try some of the little guys, and we'll see if any of them come out the way I want and look believable. So let's get this project started. I'm very excited. I've not done this before, and I'm going to use some weird stuff to make it happen. So let's get going. Wish me luck!
So here we have our flowers, and what I'm going to do with the large tulips is I'm using a styrofoam egg. And then for my smaller tulips, I'm just using a round styrofoam ball. I did not have smaller eggs, which, let's face it, the bulbs themselves are kind of egg-shaped, so it's a good starting point. I'm just going to trim a little bit off the bottom, and then I'm going to start to create kind of a pear shape. So I'm just whittling away at it and forming it with my fingers. I even rolled it on the cutting board a couple times to get this pear shape. Then I grab my handy dandy chopstick. I use chopsticks to poke at all kinds of things to make a hole for my stem, and it fit pretty good, and I almost got it all the way through. Almost. Back to the chopstick, and this time I'm going to come in from the bottom, and I'm trying not to make the hole too big because I want it to be on the stem firmly. I don't want it to just be sliding all over the place for the next step of what I intend to do. And that about does it. And I'm forming it even on, one nice thing about styrofoam is it's very pliable. You just push it hard enough with your fingers and roll it around on the cutting board and you get a really nice shape. And I'm making them all different lengths because, let's face it, in nature, nothing blooms at the same time. Nothing is the same height. And so it's nice to just make them a little bit different. And this is my third one. And I'm only doing 3 large ones. Working odd numbers, guys. It is visually more appealing. So for this step, I'm going to use just plain tissue paper. Run-of-the-mill white tissue paper. I'm cutting just random size little squares that look like it'll cover my entire bulb. And now I'm going to coat the entire bulb with Mod Podge. And poke a little hole through the bottom of your tissue paper. And just gently work it towards the top of the bulb. And I'm kind of pleating as I go, kind of pushing in gently because you don't want to rip this. And just gently molding it and pleating it. And this is tissue paper 1. There will be multiple layers before we move on to the what we put on top of this. You're gonna love it. Or maybe not, I don't know. And just trim close to the bulb. Now I am going to go in for my second layer of tissue paper and doing the same process, just molding it and cutting it down, and I'm coating it again. And there's a little area that I didn't like, so I add a little more tissue. And here we have, after it's totally dry, the 2 layers, and I'm going to add 2 more layers. And I've added 4 layers total on all my tulips. Remember the weird stuff I mentioned? This is it. Onion skins. To me, they look the closest to what an actual bulb would look like. I mean, a bulb is a bulb. And so I saved some onion skins for quite a while. And now I am just hot gluing them in place all over my bulb. One thing I did discover is the skins that are more pliable, like that second layer, that tended to be the easiest to glue and to mold around my tulip bulbs. I just added until the bulb was completely covered. When it came to the final layer, I used perfect, almost pristine onion skins and large ones. So they molded around and fit, so it almost looked like they were one piece. So it looked very, very real. So pleased. Now we're going to actually use that little bottom part of the onion, the root itself, and I saved some of those as well. And I cut them down and I glued them to the bottom. Now these, the roots and the stem parts where they're actually look like they're growing, you have to duplicate those, don't you? At least I thought so. So into the mix is my good old caulk. I told you there was weird stuff involved. I just basically started making some nice long strings, and I also made some little like chunky pieces to duplicate where the stem is going to come out at the top of the bulb. So I feel the onion skins are far too light to really resemble those beautiful bulbs. So I'm going to use some stain to cover each and every one of my bulbs. I am just hitting the onion skin alone. And if there's any tissue paper that's sticking out the top, I am not hitting that at this point. Just the bulb itself. My stain is dry, and I've noticed that there's a little tiny bit of a sheen to it, and I don't like it. If you notice these bulbs, there's no sheen there. And it's just that beautiful color of cocoa. I told you, weirdness. So now I am going to lightly brush all my bulbs in cocoa powder. Back to our caulk. I have cut some small strips really thin, and if some of the strands were too thick, I cut them in half. And now I'm just gluing them to look like those beautiful roots coming out of our purchased bulbs. Now to replicate that part at the top of the bulb where the stem comes out, I have trimmed and molded my semi-dry caulk, and now I'm gluing it, tucking it underneath the onion skin. Only one more step. We have to paint all of the caulked areas. Remember our small tulips? I did not forget them. I treated them exactly the same with the styrofoam and the tissue paper and painted all of the caulk. Even they got dusted with cocoa powder.
Our tulips have bloomed right out of the bulbs, and they have been planted in dirt, and they are now proudly displayed in my home. Let's take a look.
I put my large bulbs in faux dirt, and if you want to check that video out, how I made that faux dirt, I will put the link in the description below. And I also added some moss. And I put them in that beautiful wicker basket. I love wicker. So earthy, so natural. I am very pleased with this project. I am so happy. I think I'll even fool my friends and family. We'll see. And do you remember that little tulip? I decided to make it look like it was in one of those floating water vases. And there it is. I really think this looks real. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like. Share it with your family and friends. Don't forget to subscribe. Ring the bell so you're notified of all my upcoming videos. For now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.